He was the one man everyone thought you couldn't solve.
He is a real problem in the UFC.
The cardio machine, the pressure demon.
I don't know what happens to him when he gets inside that octagon. That man is a fucking machine.
The guy who shot 30 takedowns a night and smiled while doing it. Fighters didn't just lose to Merab Dvalishvili, they drowned in him.
For a minute. Nice takedown.
But then it happened. For the first time in years, Merab broke. And it wasn't the punch, it wasn't the pace, it wasn't even the opponent being better that night. It was something far more embarrassing, a flaw he had been hiding in plain sight through an entire win streak. A flaw so fundamental that once someone exposed it, the entire illusion of the machine collapsed in real time. And today, we're breaking down exactly how it happened, because this isn't just the story of a loss. It's the moment the UFC's most relentless fighter finally got solved, why it happened, how it happened, and why nobody, not even the analysts, saw it coming. By the end of this video, you'll understand the truth that changed everything. Merab didn't get beaten because he slowed down. He got beaten because the sport caught up. And once you see the flaw, you'll never look at his style the same way again. But to understand how Merab finally broke, you need to know how the machine was built in the first place. Merab Dvalishvili grew up in Tbilisi, Georgia, a city where combat sports aren't a hobby, they're survival. Wrestling, judo, sambo. If it involved throwing someone on their head, Georgian kids learned it young. And Merab was obsessed. Georgia's wrestling culture is built on one principle: you don't quit, you don't slow down, you break your opponent's will through sheer relentlessness. In his early 20s, Merab moved to the United States with almost nothing. No money, no English, no connections. Just a dream and cardio that made other fighters question if he was even human. He landed at Sarah Longo Fight Team on Long Island, a gym with a reputation for turning underdogs into champions. Matt Serra and Ray Longo looked at this wild Georgian kid who wouldn't stop moving and realized something. They didn't need to teach him technique first. They needed to weaponize his chaos. His game became crystallized around one devastating concept: chain wrestling, shoot a takedown. If it fails, immediately shoot another. If that fails, scramble, recover, and shoot again. Over and over until the opponent's brain shuts down from exhaustion. Fighters would come into the cage thinking they could sprawl once or twice and survive. By the third round, they were drowning. But even in those early days, coaches noticed something. The Merab entries were almost always the same. Predictable, linear, he'd shoot from the same distance, the same setup, the same angle. And when opponents didn't panic, when they stayed calm, Merab struggled to adjust. But back then, nobody cared, because back then, everyone panicked. And that's when the streak began. Merab's early UFC run was messy. He lost his debut, he looked lost against Ricky Simon, but then something clicked. He stopped trying to be perfect. He just became more pace, more pressure, more takedowns, more chaos. He turned himself into a human tsunami, and the wins started piling up. John Dodson drowned. Marlon Moraes suffocated. Jose Aldo, one of the greatest featherweights of all time, Merab took him down 9 times and made him look old. Fans started using a new phrase: bro doesn't know what tired means. His cardio wasn't just elite, it was demonic. He'd shoot takedowns in the 5th round with the same speed he had in the first. Opponents would look at the clock, realize there were still 3 minutes left, and you could see their souls leave their bodies. His technique became a formula: shoot, scramble, chain, repeat. If the first takedown didn't work, he had 29 more coming. The cultural insight here is crucial. Georgian fighters carry a mentality that's different from American wrestlers or Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys. The Georgian national wrestling team doesn't teach you to win rounds. They teach you to make your opponent quit. And Merab brought that mentality into every single fight. Fans loved it. Coaches feared it. Fighters dreaded it. Then came the fight that changed everything: Petr Yan. March 2023. Merab didn't just win, he dominated. 11 takedowns, relentless pressure. Yan, one of the most technically sound strikers in the division, couldn't find space to breathe. After that fight, the conversation changed. People weren't asking if Merab was legit anymore. They were asking who could possibly stop him. The answer seemed obvious: nobody. But even during that streak, there were signs. Small cracks, moments where his entries got sloppy, moments where opponents stayed calm and he seemed confused. Nobody paid attention. Nobody cared, because Merab always found a way to drown you anyway. But those cracks, they were about to become canyons. By 2024, Merab Dvalishvili wasn't just a contender. He was inevitable. 14 straight wins, a takedown record that seemed untouchable. And in September 2024, he finally got his shot. Sean O'Malley for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. The buildup was chaos. O'Malley, the flashy striker, against Merab, the immigrant grinder, and when the cage door closed, Merab did what Merab does. He drowned him, takedown after takedown. O'Malley's striking couldn't develop. His movement couldn't create space. When the final bell rang, there was no doubt. Merab Dvalishvili was the UFC Bantamweight champion. And then 2025 became the year of the machine. January, Merab defended against Umar Nurmagomedov, a Dagestani prospect everyone claimed would out-wrestle him. Merab won. June, a rematch with Sean O'Malley. Merab won again. October, Corey Sandhagen. Merab broke the UFC record for most career takedowns in that fight, 119 total, and won a clear decision. 3 title defenses in 1 year. Analysts started throwing around words like unstoppable and dynasty. Heading into December 2025, Merab had one goal left: make history. No UFC champion had ever defended their title 4 times in a single calendar year. Not GSP, not John Jones. Nobody. And standing in his way? Petr Yan. Again. The same guy Merab had dominated 2 years earlier. The betting odds reflected it. The analysts predicted it. For one brief moment, it felt like nothing could stop this man. December 6th, 2025, UFC 323, Las Vegas. Merab walks in as the champion, the favorite, and the man everyone believes will make history. And for the first round, it looks like the same old story. Merab pressures, Merab shoots. But something's different. Yan isn't panicking. He's not scrambling wildly. He's staying calm, disciplined, patient. And every time Merab shoots, Yan's hips are gone. Sprawl, reset. By the end of round 1, Merab has attempted 7 takedowns. He's landed 0, and for the first time in years, you can see confusion on his face. Round 2, Merab shoots more, faster, from different angles. But Yan has done his homework. He knows Merab shoots from the same distance every time. He knows Merab doesn't set up his takedowns with feints or strikes. He just explodes forward and hopes you panic. And when you don't panic, the entire chain collapses. Because here's the technical flaw nobody wanted to admit. Merab's wrestling isn't actually about high-level technique. It's about volume and chaos. His game is built on the assumption that you'll make a mistake under pressure. But if you defend the first shot cleanly, if you stay calm and reset, Merab has to shoot again from a worse position. And again, and again. Those entries become desperate, predictable, exhausting. That's when Yan starts landing body shots, not huge bombs, just hard, sharp, perfectly timed body kicks and punches that land every time Merab resets from a failed takedown. And here's where the cardio myth starts to crack. Merab isn't gassing physically. His conditioning is still insane, but he's gassing mentally. His rhythm is broken. The thing that always worked isn't working, and he doesn't have a plan B. His striking isn't good enough to win rounds on the feet. His takedown entries aren't technical enough to succeed against a prepared opponent, so he just shoots more. By round 3, Merab has attempted 15 takedowns. He's landed 2. Both were immediately scrambled out of. Round 4 is when it becomes obvious. Merab is still pressuring, still moving forward, still throwing volume, but he's not effective anymore. He's just busy. Yan is picking him apart with counters, body shots, sharp combinations. Every time Merab dives for a takedown, Yan defends easily and punishes him on the way out. The truth is simpler and more brutal than anyone wants to admit. Yan figured out the code. He realized that Merab's entire style depends on you panicking, on you making defensive mistakes, and Yan refused to play that game. He stayed calm, stayed technical, stayed patient, and slowly, methodically, he dismantled the machine piece by piece. Round 5, the round where Merab is supposed to be unstoppable. Except this time, Yan looks fresh, and Merab looks lost. He shoots one more desperate takedown with a minute left, gets sprawled on, and eats a knee to the body on the way out. The final bell rings, and everyone in the arena knows the machine just broke. Final scorecards, 49-46, 48-47, 49-46. Unanimous decision for Petr Yan. Merab's 14-fight win streak is over. His title reign is over. It wasn't one punch. It wasn't even Yan being better. It was the moment the sport finally figured out the formula. Merab's style works when opponents panic, but when someone stays calm, when they defend the first shot and reset, when they refuse to drown, the entire system collapses. Because Merab never learned how to win without the chaos. He never developed the feints, the setups, the striking game to win against someone who simply refused to engage in his game. His offense was a one-note song played at 100 miles per hour, and the moment someone stood still and listened, they realized it was just noise. And that's how the UFC's most relentless fighter finally got solved. The aftermath of UFC 323 sent shockwaves through the MMA world. Fans were stunned. Social media exploded with takes ranging from "Merab was exposed" to "this was just a bad night." But the truth sits somewhere more complicated. Merab isn't a fraud. He's not overrated. He's a fighter who built an incredibly effective style around one core weapon, relentless pressure and cardio-based chain wrestling, and rode that weapon to the top of the sport. The problem is MMA evolves. And the moment a blueprint exists, the moment film study reveals the pattern, every top fighter in the division starts training specifically to counter it. And now they have the blueprint. Stay disciplined. Don't panic. Defend the first shot cleanly. Punish the reset. Use body shots to disrupt his rhythm. Stay off the cage. Be patient. It sounds simple, but it requires incredible cardio, elite takedown defense, and the mental toughness to stay calm while Merab is throwing volume at you. Most fighters don't have that. But the elite ones, they do now, and that's the problem Merab faces going forward. So can Merab come back? Absolutely, but it requires evolution. He needs to develop a real striking game, not just volume, but setups. He needs to learn how to feint, how to draw reactions, how to set up his takedowns instead of just spamming them. He needs to diversify his wrestling entries. He needs to be less predictable. He needs to prove he can win when the chaos doesn't work. Because right now, every coach in the top 10 is watching that Yan fight and telling their fighters, stay calm, defend the first shot, he'll break himself. The legacy question is fascinating. Merab's 2025 will still go down as one of the most dominant single-year championship runs in UFC history. 3 title defenses, a takedown record that might never be broken. He proved that relentless pressure and cardio can take you to the absolute top of the sport. But he also proved something else. In modern MMA, one-dimensional styles have a shelf life. The sport evolves too fast, and once the blueprint exists, you either adapt or you get left behind. Merab's rise showed us the power of pressure. His fall showed us the limits of it. So how did the UFC's most relentless fighter finally get solved? It wasn't conditioning. It wasn't power. It wasn't even wrestling. Merab Dvalishvili got solved. His entire style was built on the assumption that you'd make mistakes under pressure. But Petr Yan didn't drown. He stood still. He stayed patient. And he proved what coaches had suspected for years, but nobody wanted to say out loud. Merab's wrestling only works when you play his game. When you refuse, the chain breaks. The pressure fades. The machine stops. Every entry Merab makes is predictable. Every shot comes from the same distance. Every scramble follows the same pattern. It worked for 14 straight fights because nobody stayed calm long enough to notice. But now they have. Merab didn't lose because he slowed down. He lost because MMA caught up, because the sport evolved, because fighters learned to stop panicking. The machine didn't break because it ran out of gas. It broke because someone finally found the off switch, and now everyone knows where it is. If you want to see how other seemingly unstoppable fighters collapsed when the sport figured them out, check out the next video and drop your take in the comments. Was Merab exposed, or is this just one fight? Can he evolve and come back stronger, or is this the beginning of the end for the machine?